Hi, I'm Tim Harrison. I'm the Managing Director of Ionic Rare Earths. I'm here to talk to you today about the recent activities that we've been doing in the field in Uganda at Makuutu, and also our plans to move downstream in rare earth refining and separation and magnet recycling.
Tim, good to see you, mate. I haven't seen you since August, and if it's based on news release count, you're one of the busiest companies out there. A lot of news being pumped out of the market at the moment. I want to kind of focus in on what we talked about last time, which was the kind of disconnect between people's expectation of the resource size and the study that came out back in August. People didn't get it. You got hammered as a result. What have you done to fix that?
Yeah, so we mobilised a number of drill rigs in the field in Uganda. We completed 8,000 metres of drilling, looking at increasing the amount of inferred resources at Makuutu, pushing that total quantum of the inferred resource to indicated, and that indicated resource base will support the company's project activities with regards to the feasibility study, which we're planning on completing later this year.
And so what percentage of the inferred came into indicated? How much have you been able to move over with 8,000 metres?
So we're still waiting for drill assays, and we're looking at doing that resource update in a few months' time. That 8,000 metres of drilling is the largest program we've done at the project to date. The plan is to move a substantial portion of the 248 million tonnes of inferred resource to indicated. With what we've already got as indicated, the plan is to have a total resource in excess of 250 million tonnes of indicated resources with that new update in a couple of months or a few months' time. Right.
So given people's people's expectations were, do you think that is going to be big enough to be one kind of fix the disconnect with the marketplace, and two, make you attractive to industry to actually start taking you serious as a company which has got the scale which they may require?
Oh, look, I think we've always been serious. We've always had the scale there. It's just a matter of moving it from an inferred to an indicated classification, and it was just a matter of time. I think, that 8,000 metres of drilling that we've completed in this Phase 4 program will increase the total resource, the indicated resource, up to over 250 million tonnes. And at that sort of tonnage, we're looking at the potential for a 25-year plus life of mine for the feasibility study, which is more than enough for us to move forward with the project with a lot of confidence, knowing that we've still got a substantial amount of greenfield exploration potential out to the east, and also a new tenement that we acquired out to the northwest.
Okay, so that's going on. So is there more drilling planned, or are you just waiting for assays and that'll do you for a while?
We'll get these assays back. We'll have a look at the updated resource. I'm expecting not only an increase in confidence, but also an increase in the total quantum. So the expectation is we're going to end up with a larger resource, higher confidence. That's going to be more than adequate for us to move forward with the feasibility study. I think long term, the reality is, potentially we push back some drilling. Maybe we look at doing some later this year, more reconnaissance drilling, just to get an idea of the potential out to the northwest. We're very confident with what we've got out to the east. We announced the RAB drilling last year, which was, I think, of the 25 holes we drilled, 23 came back with ionic adsorption clay mineralization above the cutoff grade. So we know that the project is or has the potential to get substantially larger, but certainly at 25 years supporting the feasibility study, I think that's going to be more than enough for us to move forward with a lot of confidence.
Absolutely. So it kind of process get to a certain scale, and if you don't need to do too much more. What people want to see is how do you fit yourself and insert yourself into the ecosystem, right? I think there's a fear from some people that your reliance is entirely on China, right? That they need to step forward and help you move this project forward. But you've recently made an acquisition of Seren Tech. Where does that fit into this story? Why did you do that? What's the point?
Yeah, so Seren Technologies, technology, ionic liquids for the separation of rare earth elements. So for our ability to move downstream and look at, developing our own refinery, We, with the acquisition of Seren Technologies, we have in-house capability. They're based in Belfast, associated with Queen's University Belfast and the Makuutu Research Centre. Leaders and experts in the field of ionic liquids. We have that capability in-house. We can do all of our rare earth refining test work in-house. The ability to build our knowledge base, build our refinery design around our internal capability, and also with the acquisition of Seren Technologies, the potential to move very quickly on magnet recycling is also very exciting for the company.
Yeah, but it's lab work, right? It's a university, it's Tees University as well involved, as Queen's University Belfast. It's early stage stuff. It's not commercial. So, you're talking the language of being able to do X, Y, Z. They're not that far down the process themselves.
So when it comes to rare earth refining and basically what needs to happen over the coming years, we're all starting with a blank piece of paper. The opportunity for the industry now is to go and set the rules, set the framework, set the infrastructure in place to take quality baskets, quality rare earth baskets, refined and separated into the individual rare earth oxides, and potentially taken further to metals and alloys and magnets to support these new supply chains that need to be developed. If Western governments are looking for alternative, secure and traceable supplies.
But you're a miner. What are you doing? You're diversifying all of a sudden. I mean, you got to take care of project number one first, and you got to give people confidence there. So, what are you doing? What's the plan?
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking our unique basket from Makuutu, which has substantial upside, and we're unlocking the value of that upside by going downstream with a separate team, a separate focus. We've acquired the individuals with the capability to lead these programs. And we're building that capacity now to support our ambitions of being more vertically integrated into the new rare earth supply chains that will emerge over coming years.
Right. So given you said it's a blank sheet of paper, you're talking the language of acquiring the people. What have you acquired? Have you acquired a process, an intellectual property, the people, and what exactly do you get for it? How much did you pay for it? Tell me more about the deal. Okay.
So we've acquired patents and know-how. We've acquired, the know-how and the demonstration and piloting test work that's been done over a number of pilot campaigns. We'll be working with Seren on initially a demonstration plant and plans to quickly move to commercializing the technology over the course of the next couple of years. So, we see this as being hugely exciting for the company, exciting for our ability to bring on near-term, low-cost supplies of magnet rare earths. And the exciting thing is that because we're starting out where we are, we're getting an opportunity to set a lot of the rules, to be one of the first movers in this space. And this is an area that potentially is going to make up 25% of the rare earth supply chain by the end of this decade. So it's a great opportunity for Ionic to put a flag in the sand and stake out our piece of the pie.
Right. And how many other people are doing this? I mean, because obviously you've gone to them. They need to buy into you as much as you need to buy into them, because this thing's going to need funding. Were they relying on you to commercialize this for them? What exactly is the relationship?
Yeah, so we're acquiring 100% of Seren Technologies. The deal itself was a cash and scrip deal, $1 million US cash, $1.5 million worth of script, and a milestone fee on the first commercial or the commercialization of the technology. So potentially another $1.5 million.
What's that mean? Commercialization means what?
So building the first asset that recycles magnets and turning it into rare earth oxides, or commercializing the technology via a license agreement or a license of our or Seren Technologies rare earth separation that can be used on mineral concentrates. It can be used on intermediate products like the mixed rare earth carbonate from Makuutu. So it has a wide appeal, a wide potential commercialization. And so for us, we see a way to move very quickly, whether it be magnet recycling or rare earth separation. Technology has a lot of wide appeal.
Okay, so it's not reliant on getting feed in. It's not reliant on sales or revenue. It's reliant on building the facility, funding and building the facility to be able to produce, whatever you end up producing and wherever you hope to sell it to.
Magnet rare earths. That's right. So it's a pretty simple deal. It's, when you're looking at the opportunity with magnet recycling, there's a lot of spent magnets from deployments, 15, 20 years ago. Those magnets need to be recycled because that rare earth that's contained within those magnets is extremely important, because there's not the new supplies of rare earths coming online that need to come online. So secondary sourcing becomes a great opportunity.
Right. So what needs to happen to allow you to do that? Obviously, you're going to need to source. That's a big deal, right? If it's a nascent industry, it's a blank sheet of paper, everyone's going to be clamoring for this recycling. I think we've interviewed a couple of companies ourselves previously. It's going to be a busy space. So how much time and effort are you putting into now trying to be able to source this, and how credible are you given how early this is for you?
So Seren have done a lot of the groundwork already. So they've mapped out a lot of the inventories of magnets across the US and Europe, for example. They've had a number of discussions that have moved forward. One of the opportunities for us and the appeals for Seren is to take this technology and apply it directly to a resource. So we, I think, are able to work together and move very quickly on commercializing this technology. We're planning on building a demo plant later this year in the UK, and that will then provide us with the ability to move very quickly on, potentially commercializing in Europe or the US.
Why the UK?
That's where Seren's based. And Belfast.
Well, Seren's Belfast and Tees, but may not necessarily be the best. Well, who knows? Okay, you're going to build it in the UK for now. And how much is that going to cost you?
Probably a couple $1 million.
Okay. And last time we spoke, you did $11 million, but that was pretty much, for drilling and advancing things. So you're going to be raising money soon?
Always looking to do the right deal for the company and, create value.
Right. So how quickly would you look to build this $2 million project? Well,
we're finalising. We've got to work through the due diligence on the Seren acquisition. We're planning on having that completed in early March. So potentially,
meaning what? Because I thought it was a done deal. So what 2 more months of due diligence on what specific aspect?
We're looking at the technology. We're looking at the strategy to implement and making sure we have a clear line of sight on initial steps for the company to move forward with demonstration and commercialization.
Okay, and so how does it work in terms of reporting? You've got to report the fact that you've begun discussions. You can't wait until after you've concluded and closed the transaction.
That's right.
Right. Okay. Fine. Right. So with regards to the other things that you're going to need to put in place once that deal has concluded, it's not just money. Are you going to have to hire people, or is Seren entirely staffed up and capable of delivering what they promised you?
Yeah, so Seren have got an exceptionally clever team. So we're lucky enough to be bringing on board a number of experienced technologists and PhDs who've been working with Seren for the last few years. And they effectively know all of the opportunities for the technology moving forward. They've done all of the piloting. They've been through and identified opportunities for further improvement. They've done the engineering on the demonstration plant. So we're looking to move very quickly with the team that we acquire there.
And how does it work with the university? Because obviously the university has been funding the research and presumably paying some of these people. How's that?
No. So we're associated with Queen's University. So, but Seren Technologies is fully staffed and funded by Seren.
Okay. So in what sense is it when you say you're teaming up with Queen's University Belfast and Tees University?
So the technology itself is associated with Queen's University. Professor Peter Knockerman was one of the inventors. He's one of the ionic liquids experts from Queen's University and the Quill Research Centre. And Peter has been and will be a technical resource for the company moving forward. Okay,
and if you get some sort of sense of, given the work that's been done by Seren on the size of the opportunity, what's the size of the market? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
It's one that's growing. Matt.
Okay.
So, we've looked at magnet recycling and the opportunity. Potentially you're looking at a market that's going to grow into the thousands of tons of neodymium iron boron magnets per annum. That market will need to examine recycling going forward, because it will be just too large an amount of critical raw materials locked up in spent materials for it not to be recycled.
And what's the biggest source of feed for you guys? Is it presumably electric vehicles, the magnets used in automotive manufacture? I mean, or are there other?
I think that's an industry that's got a lot of upside and potential. Right. But when we look at the magnets that are ready to go now, you're probably offshore wind turbines. So the very large magnets, and being able to bring those in. We're looking at a demonstration plant that's potentially treating around 30 tons of magnets per annum. So when you're looking at a commercial plant, we're probably looking at a commercial scale of around 600 tons per annum. So they're not huge installations. They're not capital intensive. They're quite modest on the capital requirement, but they do provide the ability to modularize magnet rare earth production. And recycling, say 600 tons of magnets will bring online 200 tons per annum of rare earth oxide, which is 200 tons more than is going to be produced anywhere else.
Yeah. So, okay. So how does that market work? Because obviously there's very few manufacturers of wind turbines, and they may or may not have contracts with other people to dispose or recycle in some way. So there's got to be a few. Small number of people there. I mean, how does that market look at the moment in terms of, you're talking about a nascent industry, right? So I'm interested in these are new conversations, new contracts, and, people have been producing wind turbines not for very long, and the same probably eventually with car manufacturers. There's not going to be that many contracts available, right? It seems. So how do you prove yourself and stand up and say, our technology is greener, cleaner, quicker, and at the end of the day, cheaper is what they go with, right? So if you tick the other boxes, is it first mover advantage? Is that what you need to try and get?
I think first mover advantage is important, but it's also important to have the right technology. And I think that's, again, another opportunity for us, because with the technology that Seren has developed, they are not only able to extract the rare earths out of the spent waste magnets, they're able to then refine that recovered rare earths into high purity rare earth oxides that can be deployed into new, higher spec magnets going forward. So it's a very unique technology compared to other technologies that have been developed, which don't have the ability to extract and separate the rare earths. They effectively just take the spent products and process that material such that it can be recast in the same or lesser quality magnets going forward.
How's the technology work? Because I'm interested in this, because if I look at the battery recycling, it's obviously different. People talk about pyrometallurgical processes, which is frowned upon. The new thing is hydrometallurgical process, because it's cleaner, greener, friendly, and all those wonderful things. So people are going down that route. For you guys, how do you hit those kind of green credentials? Because it's like de rigueur at the moment, and whether you believe it happens or not, that's a tick box exercise you got to go through. So why did you buy into this? Why Seren's technology versus something else?
So again, hydrometallurgical. So it fits within the skill set of the existing members of the company now. So we understand the technology, we understand the unit operations and the way in which the technology is deployed. Hydrometallurgically, it leaches or extracts the rare earths from the spent magnets, which can then be separated in a mode similar to solvent extraction and refined to 99.99% rare earth oxides. This is a technology that is unique compared to other players in the rare earth magnet recycling space. And we think it provides us with a first mover advantage in the ability to recycle magnets into the high product qualities required to be then redeployed into the new magnets that industry is going to want to produce. Magnets that have the ability to increase the amount of heavy rare earths relative to the neodymium and praseodymium in high-intensity magnets going forward. So we see it as being a step change in current technology opportunities and availabilities out there. It's got a modest capital requirement, which means that we can move very quickly on it, and a cookie cutter approach.
Okay, so two things there. One, you said it's unique. It's unique now, but if people are looking at this as a commercial opportunity, there'll be entrants coming in, and so you do need to move fast. To your point, you're going to need to move fast. And the cookie cutter approach, because of the low capex entry for you guys, but therefore low entry for other people too. You are going to have to move quickly. How do you do that?
So we're looking at the demonstration plant with Seren this year, and then the plan is that next year we look at commercializing the plant. And Seren have already had a number of discussions with groups in both Europe and the US, and so we'll look at capitalising on all the groundwork that's been done by Seren previously. So,
and how do you know that the commerciality component is there? How do you make money, right? Because if someone's providing feedstock, you're going to sign short-term contracts for those sorts of things. They're going to want their piece of the pie here. You're 100% owner, which is great, but contracts will become harder and harder to find. So how do you tie yourself into a long, significant contract? What have they found out?
I think everything, it's about partnerships, right? It's about being able to work with suppliers who've got access to the magnets today and being able to structure up long-term supply agreements where everybody gets a slice of the pie. So, the work that Seren's done in mapping inventories of spent magnets, working with potential partners who will be operating the equipment, decommissioning equipment, and will have a steady stream of magnets into the future, and working with them to be able to then supply the rare earths, the high purity individual rare earth oxides that can be redeployed into the materials and the products that they need going forward. So again, it's this whole vertical integration in new supply chains that we're very excited to be participating in.
Okay, and sorry to bang on about this, but this is a filler, right? The mining side of things and the drilling, and you're waiting for assays. That's it's a slightly longer time horizon. This kind of fits it nicely into a little gap, and maybe getting into revenue generation a little bit quicker, which potentially can help you with the main prize, as it were. But has CERN provided you with some numbers? I get that they may not necessarily have the experience of being able to put detailed costings together in terms of plant build and demo or otherwise. But what's their perception of how much margin is there to be made with their process?
We've received through the due diligence. We've received a lot of the work that they've done, including independent third-party studies that have determined capital and operating costs. We've had a look at that, and we'll continue to look at that over the course of the DD. We're not in a position, obviously, to report that to the market until we finalise the transaction. But, there's certainly a good opportunity there for us to explore. When talking about the role that magnet recycling fills for Ionic, you're right, it helps us fill the void. We're 100% focused on, obviously, the work that we've been doing with Makuutu. And with that basket that we'll be producing at Makuutu, which has the potential to be a very, very long life asset, producing magnet and heavy rare earths, our plans to go downstream to produce individual separated rare earths, potentially go further beyond oxides, look at maybe metals and alloys. And as we start to build those new supply chains, the fact that we've got magnet recycling in our toolkit means that we can then go and build relationships with players more integrated in supply chains, and look at ways in which we can leverage our capability into these new and emerging vertically integrated circular economies that will be developed in Western countries.
And with regards to what I said earlier about perception of you're tying yourself to China, certainly as being an African asset play, is to decouple yourself further from that thought or reality. Will we see more acquisitions, nascent or otherwise?
Look, I think we've got enough on our plate right now, Matt. I think the reality is we've now got we've got a fantastic asset in Makuutu. It's going to be a long life producer of magnet and heavy rare earths. It's unique, and it does stand head and shoulders above a lot of other rare earth development opportunities today. We've now got the separation technology. We've got magnet separation capability as well, and recycling. So I think we've got a pretty full dance card for the next little while, and a lot of work to be done to progress each of these and give them the level of attention that they need to move forward. And ultimately, we want to try and get Makuutu into production in early 2024. So we've got our hands full with that regardless.
Okay, and so, you may say it, but I didn't quite catch it earlier. The resource update will be when?
Yeah, so we've had a delay with getting assays out of the labs here in Australia. Expected to have all of the assays back in March, and hopeful of being able to do the resource update in April.
Right, and when that happens, the number will be big, and that's great. What happens off the back of that? Clearly, you're putting a signal to the market saying, "Look, it's as big as we told you. We've taken the inferred into indicated. We're on track." Because there was a little bump last year where people were slightly disappointed with or misunderstood the reporting process, right? So, what do you do at the point post March when you can, at some point, near that point, put a new resource update? What next? What does the company need to do on that side of things? We've heard about the Saren stuff today, but what do you do with Makuutu?
Yeah, so the plan for us has been to work towards completion of the feasibility study and the mining license application, all by the end of this year.
Have you got the money for that?
The plan to complete the feasibility study. We will have a look at with these other activities that we're doing. I mean, we're also doing a scoping study on the refinery. So we are looking at that, but we're also having a number of discussions with strategic partners about helping and participating in the development of the projects that Ionic is looking to bring to market. And we'll continue to assess opportunities as they present themselves.
So you talked earlier about being able to go into, Europe and US, etc. And what's the reality of US? Because there's a lot of competition there versus, you're going to build a demo plant in the UK. You've got an obvious ecosystem in Europe. You've got export credit agencies in Europe who might be attracted to this. Africa is a place they understand. So again, I'm just trying to work out where you're going to be spending your time and effort, because if you're trying to be all things to all men, it gets a little bit difficult time-wise and then money-wise. So again, what do you envisage yourself spending time on this year when it comes to if you're doing feasibility studies, and if you're looking at if we're going to build this plant, what's it going to cost us? You're going to start conversations with groups. Where, when?
Those discussions have already started, Matt. I mean, it's a drawn out process. It's a long process, and it's an exercise in bringing people up to speed in everything that's required. Because the rare earth industry, it's not just building a mine; it's also building the refinery, and it's about building the downstream metal production, magnet production, and understanding the partners in each and every step in those new supply chains that are emerging. So there's lots of discussions to be had. There's tremendous amount of interest across the US and Europe. So it is a project that has a great appeal, and it certainly does mean I have many calls late at night and early in the morning, because you have to get across all the different time zones. So it's a great project. It's a great basket, and it hasn't been missed by various groups around the world who are very keen to get access to rare earth independence.
Okay, well, let's see how those conversations go, and hopefully you can start talking about some of them soon. And just with regards to the assay results, they're going to be through in the next couple of months, is what I'm hearing. Is that right? Or
yeah, we should have. We should have a steady stream of assays over the next 2 months. Right,
but you're seeing more of the same, because I noticed like all the mineralization that put out to market in terms of drill results are above the cutoff grade. But are you seeing is it more of the same? Is it fairly homogenous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, it's
fine.
Pretty hard to come up with new comments to put in announcements, Matt, because it's just more of the same. And we're very happy with Makuutu and the potential that it presents.
Good stuff. Okay, look, Tim, good to catch up. I like the Saturn move. Like I say, it plugs the gap. We start talking revenue a bit sooner, and potentially it's the beginning of some kind of vertical integration solution. So keep at it. Stay in touch. Okay.
Thank you, Matt.